Hey everyone, welcome to the show. It's Razor, and this is Horror Movie Massacre, presented by the Horror Syndicate. And if you're here, you should be hitting that like button. Hit the like button for us. If you're new, please subscribe as we count down our top 10 from 1988. One of the bigger years of the 1980s, maybe one of the bigger years in horror, period. I think when we're done with all this, we're going to rank each year, and then we'll rank our top 25, something like that, of the 1980s. A lot of rankings. We love rankings, and we're going to continue to roll out rankings until the end of time. Howdy. Let us know. Let me know if you're here. Seth will be on shortly. I'm going to get started without him because I don't want to wait. He said he'd be here in about 10 minutes. So that was about 7 minutes ago. So we'll see. Otherwise, I'm here. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask them. If you have any complaints, sorry. We did a show just this past Sunday where we did 10 burning questions for the Elm Street franchise, the Nightmare franchise, if you will, or A Nightmare on Elm Street, the franchise, whatever you want to call it. Check that video out. Tomorrow's Werewolf Wednesday. We'll have to ask Seth what he's planning on doing because I don't quite know. Even though if you go to thehorrorsyndicate.com, you can actually find the entire list of Werewolf Wednesday episodes listed on thehorrorsyndicate.com, along with a lot of other great content. I have 699 different articles on the website myself. Jackson from the Horror Gang will be, he just gave me or sent me his first article. That'll be up very soon, as well as more stuff from Seth and Ron, and just all kinds of stuff going on with the Horror Syndicate right now. So strap in, buckle in, whatever you want to do, because it's going to be a ride. And before Seth gets here, I will go back through real fast the years of the 1980s. As we started with 1985 and then went back to 1980. And yeah. So we've got, let's see, I don't know if I have them all actually on here. I might have, let's see, we've got, that's 1981. This is 1980. I think this is 1980. Yes, 1980. We did this a few weeks ago. Humanoids from the Deep. Great movie. If you've not seen it, please check it out. Maniac is a fan favorite. Cannibal Holocaust is one of the most infamous movies of all time. I've never seen The Ninth Configuration. The Changeling is a great ghost story. Inferno is my favorite. Argento, Friday the 13th. No need to say anything there. City of the Living Dead is a great. Fulci, the John Carpenter's The Fog, fantastic, and The Shining. Great year for horror. And then we get into 1981 and some more familiar movies. Scanners, Deadly Blessing, which I have not seen. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, which is a TV movie. Possession, crazy movie. The Howling, of course, The Werewolf, great. Friday the 13th, Part 2, better than the first. The Beyond, another Fulci, fantastic movie. Halloween 2, love it. An American Werewolf in London, the best werewolf movie of all time, and The Evil Dead. And then we move on to 1982. Pieces. You don't have to go to Texas for a Chainsaw Massacre. Friday the 13th 3D, one of my least favorite. Cat People, underrated gem. Check it out. The Entity, really, really good. Tenebra, another Argento. Amityville 2, The Possession, with a gross scene in it. Creepshow, great anthology. Halloween 3, underrated and one of the best horror movies of the 80s. Poltergeist, another great movie. And John Carpenter's The Thing. We've got two John Carpenter movies so far, and one based off of a John Carpenter actually two of them based off a John Carpenter property, Halloween. 1983. We've got Eyes of Fire, never saw it. Amityville 3D, not great. Sleepaway Camp, I'm not a huge fan of Sleepaway Camp. Let me know if you are in the comments. Jaws 3D, not great. I don't know that I've seen The Dead Zone all the way through. Twilight Zone. Videodrome, really good. Cujo, that's fair. Christine, John Carpenter. And Psycho 2, kind of a weak year in my opinion. So we'll move on to 1984. I don't think I have all of them on here. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Blood Simple's not a horror movie. Chud is awesome, underrated. Children of the Corn, nah. Not a comment. Really good if you haven't seen it. Friday the 13th, Part 4. Gremlins, awesome movie. Love it. The Terminator, I've never put it in the horror category. Ghostbusters, never put it in the horror category. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the best horror film of all time. Yeah. And then we've got 1985, where it all began for us. We've got The Howling 2. Life Force, great boobs, Matilda May. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Fright Night, great vampire movie. Demons, Demone, great movie. Reanimator. This is a great year. 85, Day of the Dead. Man. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Wow. Silver Bullet, my favorite werewolf movie. And then Return of the Living Dead, of course, is the best movie from 1985. If you don't believe it, and who doesn't like Return of the Living Dead? That's my question to you people out there, whoever watches this video. Who does not like Return of the Living Dead? That's strange, in my opinion, if you don't like Return of the Living Dead. Sorry. I don't know that everyone has seen Brain Damage. I may be the only one who's seen it. So the way we do these, let me do this one first. What do we just do, 85? Yeah. Night of the Creeps. Blue Velvet's not a horror movie. Demons 2. House. Hitcher. Yeah. From Beyond. Great movie. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Awesome film. Aliens. I don't look at it as a horror movie. The Fly. Just showed that to both my kids the other day. And Jason Lives, the best Friday the 13th movie. And then 1987, we did last Thursday when I was going through puberty again. The Gate, awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, Near Dark, a good vampire movie. House 2, The Second Story, which made somebody leave the horror syndicate. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. The Monster Squad. Who doesn't love the Monster Squad? The Lost Boys, the 80s best vampire movie. Evil Dead 2, awesome. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Predator, another one I don't consider horror, and Hellraiser. So the way we do these, we have, there's a panel of 4 of us, and we all submit our top 10 movies, and every list is different. Only one time, I think, I'm trying to remember, there's one time that we all had the same number one, and I believe it's 1988. I could be wrong. I'll have to look at the old list if I can find them. But I take the lists and I give each position a point value. So if, let's say, for 1981, I had The Howling at number 1, it gets 1 point. And Seth had it at number 3, it gets 3 points. And Nate had it at number 4, it gets 4 points. And I add them up, and whoever has the lowest amount of points is the number 1 movie. And it goes down that way. If there is a movie that I had on my list, but Nate didn't have on his list, it would get 10 points because I needed it. Otherwise, they would have lower points. It makes sense, and it works out. That's how we get our list. And as far as Brain Damage goes, I don't think anybody's seen that other than me. Jared, possibly. So I personally believe the scariest horror film of 1988 is Halloween 4 with Jamie Lloyd, a.k.a. Danielle Harris. Scariest? I don't know about that. I don't think any of these movies are scary. But I will say that I think Halloween 4 is awesome. It is. I go back and forth between Halloween 2 and Halloween 4 as my favorite sequel, depending on the day. Seth is here. Hi.
What is up?
Just did a recap of everything that we've done. Now that we're on 1988. Jared unfortunately did not get to put his votes in, so this list is just between Nate, myself, and Seth. I think it's fine. I don't know that it would change all that much because the number one position, all three of us had it at number one. And even if Jared tanked it, I still think it would be number one because the number two, so it had 3 points overall because, 1, 1, 1. And if Jared didn't have it on there or he gave it the 10 spot, it'd have 13. And the number two movie actually be really interesting because the number two movie would have had to have to be a 4 or higher to be number one, but the number three movie was a 14. So one and two could have been switched. That's about the biggest damage there is. So yeah, the first question of the night, everybody, is why haven't you hit the like button yet? Second question of the night is what do you think our number one is for 1988? And there are going to be some sour pusses when they find out what number one is. People are not going to be happy with the outcome of this list. But 1988 is another stacked year. Seth, what do you think the best year from the 1980s is so far? Because I think we should rank them and see what comes out as number one.
I mean, honestly, I would say I think 87 is a great year. I think for
85. I think 85 might
part.
be.
85? You think 85
Yeah,
is the best?
it might
Really?
be. I was just looking through all these in 85. I was like, damn, Day of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead. It's just
Yeah.
like Fright Night and Silver Bullet, which I love. It's just 85. I was like, damn, there's one great one after another. 87 was good, but
I would say like 88 is the best year for sequels.
well, 88 has, I think, six. Let me look again. Let's see, because I believe that most of the, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half of them are sequels. Half of them
Yeah.
are sequels. So 88's, yeah, the best year for sequels. Serpent and the Rainbow. I think that's 89.
It's a great
What
movie.
good idea. Good idea of ranking the years of the decade. Let's see. I'm pretty sure Serpent and the Rainbow is 1989 because it's not on anyone's list from. Oh, it says 88. I swear it was 89 though. Nope, February 1988. None of us had it on our list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, why did I think it was 1988, 89? It doesn't matter. I don't think I would put it on my list.
It's a great movie, though. I do want to throw that out there.
I disagree. I think it's overly boring.
I know you do, but I love it.
Now, I think People on the Stairs was 1991. If I'm wrong on that, then I'm going to give up. No, yeah, 91 was People on the Stairs. Serpent and the Rainbow, I guess, was 1988. I thought it was 89. Shocker was 89.
Yeah.
That was the Wes Craven movie from 89. Yeah. So, anyway, there's that. So, we're going to get started now. And 1988 is, like Seth said, the best year for sequels. And yeah, 5 out of the 10 that we have are, in fact, sequels. So, yeah, Shocker is probably going to be on our 89 list next week. I'm quite sure. There are, let's see, there's another John Carpenter movie on here. There's a horror comedy. There's a remake. And the start of another franchise. So, good list overall. And we begin tonight with our number 10, which is John Carpenter's They Live. I'm going to let you take the ball on this because I'm one of the few people who don't care for this movie.
Oh, Yeah, that's right. I forget about
I don't
that.
think it's a horror movie, number one, but I just never been a fan of it.
I was gonna say I didn't think it's a horror movie either. I don't. I mean, if I had it on my list,
You did.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's okay. Well, I mean, I've always thought it was more action sci-fi, but yeah, I love They Live. It is. I think it's got a great story. Um, it it's like for me, it's a really fun, really rewatchable movie. I put it on quite a bit. Um, it's got a great. I love the fight scene. I think everyone says that though. Um, I don't know. I just love everything about this film. I think it's a lot of fun. It's definitely in my top 10 of John Carpenter films. What didn't you like about it, Ray? I don't remember.
Hold on, I'm looking because actually I think it might have been Nate. Now that I'm thinking about it, that had it on his list. Oh, that's my list. Hold on. I don't know. It never stuck with me. It's just again, we go back to the movies that I saw late. I saw this one late, and I don't know.
Was
I
there
get
a
the overall message and everything like that, but I don't know. Roddy Piper as an actor wasn't great, and he was super cheesy. This to me is one of John Carpenter's more cheesy movies. I just didn't like it. I don't have like a deep reason or anything like that. I seen it two or three times, and it's just one of those like that's a movie.
when you first watched it? Was there like did you have like a lot of hype around it? Like a lot of people tell you,
Not really, because I don't because this one, like I said, I don't find it as a horror movie, and I
right?
don't think many horror fans think of this as a horror movie.
Unfortunately, some do. I remember I did
Right.
a poll a while back, and like some people tried to justify it, like something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or whatever. But this
Mm.
is totally different than that situation because Invasion of the Body Snatchers um, was presented as a horror film, like in the way that it was structured and put together, and with the suspense and all that. This is just a straightforward action science fiction film with I think, a brilliant and kind of timeless story. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it does have a message for sure. Um, Especially in the cult-like atmosphere of nowadays. But yeah, this it is slow paced. But Roddy Piper, the only scene I really cared like I liked is when they're fighting with each other
yeah,
in the
such a great scene.
alley, because I love is it Keith David or David Keith?
It's one of those. I always mix those two up.
Yeah, I can never, because there's the one who was in Major League Two, who played Jack Parkman, which that's I think it's Keith David. Yeah, it's Keith David. I gotta remember that. Like two first names. Why would you name yourself? Why would if your last? I don't know. Anyway, make your first name more unique. Have your parents out there. If you have a last name for a first name, make your kid's name more unique than a first name. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe make it a last name. I think that'd be kind of fun. My last name's David. What's your first name? Carter. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a fan, and I got to tell you something whenever we're done with the show. Remind me. Coming in at number 9
Okay.
is Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. And this is one of the weaker Friday the 13th movies from the 1980s, but I still love this movie. It's fun. There's bad acting galore. They did cut the shit out of it, but I still love seeing this scene here where Melissa gets the fucking axe to the face and tossed across the room. And that has to be one of the most gratifying things in a horror movie of all time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I fucking love this film.
I
To
do
me,
too.
this is the last great Friday the 13th film, in my opinion. Um,
I agree with you.
I mean, because I like the quote unquote remake just fine, but like the first 7 Paramount films are that's where it's at for me.
Chef's
And
Kiss,
yeah,
except
exactly.
part three. I don't like part three.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I I enjoyed that one too. I mean, uh, so with New Blood though, I mean, it's the only Kane Hodder Jason film that I like.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's Jason looks super fucking cool in this.
yeah. Let's stop there for a second and talk about how this is probably one of his best makeup jobs.
Oh,
And
totally.
Matt Burt mentioned probably my favorite version of Jason. Well, yeah, he's got John Carl Buechler, the director, wanted to make sure Jason got every single scar. The mask is ripped up from the boat in part six. He's got the chain around his neck. You can tell he's like definitely waterlogged and water damaged. He's got the axe or is it axe mark?
X
Machete.
Men.
X mark.
X.
Okay. Yeah. So he's got like everything. You can see his freaking spine. Love this version of Jason. So
Yeah,
cool.
the design is just is awesome. It's kind of like peak Jason for me. I love seeing parts of his spine. I like how kind of like slimy he is and how torn
Mhm.
his clothes are, and the mask being broken. They're just and it's not only the design but also the way that Beekler shot the film too. I mean,
Yeah.
every time that he's on screen, it just looks really good. Used part of it in our opening. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I love that. I love that moment. I love that shot too.
Hmm.
But additionally, on top of the design and Jason himself, I think it's got a great secondary villain with Doctor Cruz. It's
Oh yeah.
got a great
Oh yeah.
third villain with
Melissa.
Melissa,
Yeah.
and she gets like an incredible. Like I love her death scene.
Hmm.
Um, the 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 main characters aside from Tina and what's his name, the
Guy from
lead,
Subspecies.
the guy from Subspecies 2 and 3. Um, yeah. Other than them, the other characters they're just kind of vanilla. They're just kind of there. Um, they're just there for the kills, but I
High
think it's
body count.
it's got a high body count. Oh, another thing I love about it too is the opening. So you have
Oh yeah.
Walt Gorney, the guy that played Crazy Ralph in 1 and 2, doing this new narration to open it up, and like
There's a
the
legend around here.
yes that,
Hmm.
and then the score for this movie. I love listening to this score. I think this score is really underrated
It
as far
sounds like you
as
got a low key boner over this one.
I do like like I'm not crazy about the telekinesis aspect of it, but
Oh, I actually like that.
see, it doesn't bother me so much, but I'm not crazy about it. But like
Mm,
this, again, this is, in my opinion, the last great Friday the 13th
I
film.
agree. And we should note this is our old friend Keith's favorite Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah,
I like this one. I do.
yeah,
It's probably not the best of the 80s because you've got Friday the
oh,
13th
definitely not.
2, 4, and 6,
Yep,
which somebody oddly said that they lean towards the odd numbers of Friday the 13th, which is 1, 3, 5, and 7. To each his own. Whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, Friday the 13th 7 is pretty awesome. Did you need to go
yeah.
do something?
No,
Oh, you look like you're about to get up.
no, I was just
Uh,
grabbing my water.
okay. So coming in at number 8 is Pumpkinhead.
Awesome movie.
I'm not wild about Pumpkinhead.
No,
No, never have been. I think the design is pretty cool, but it looks like somebody put human skin over a xenomorph a little bit.
yeah, I can see
You,
that.
yeah, and I don't know. I just like the beginning is the most entertaining thing to me when the kid somehow gets killed by a motorbike ramping, and I do think that Lance Henriksen is phenomenal in this movie
Yeah,
overall. But I don't know. There's something about this one that's just like everything with Henriksen's great in my opinion. Like the whole setup of not really a town, but the people who live in that area,
yeah,
his
yep.
store, all that stuff's really really cool. But the 20 somethings there, I hate all of them. you know?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always really loved this one. I think it's a really good, in my opinion, it's a really good revenge film.
Hmm.
Um, I do like the setup with everything, with the Pumpkinhead being the legend of the area, and then
Hmm.
you see Lance Henriksen as this loving father who leaves his little boy alone at a store. Uh, don't really get that decision, but
It's the
um,
80s. There's your
yeah,
answer. That's the
yeah.
reasoning.
And then I also love the conflict with the 20 somethings too. About there's the asshole guy who, uh,
Can't go back to jail or whatever.
yeah, he was drinking and he fucked up, and then he just continuously made some mistakes, and yeah, I don't know, and I love like I love the ending of this film too. I think it's just cool visually with the fog and the wind and the leaves blowing around and everything that's happening, and Lance Henriksen being connected to the pumpkin head, and it, I think it's visually a cool film as well, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, it was. No, it's not because I was late to the party on this one. I just did not care for it all that much. And we did a show on it a couple of years ago, and I watched it again. I was like, I get it. I get why people like this movie. Great revenge movie. It's just
Yeah,
not one of my favorites. And it was ranked really low on my list for 1988. But coming in at number 7 is The Blob, one of the best horror remakes of all time,
hands down.
hands down, or Hands in the Blob. We get two superb remakes in this decade with John Carpenter's The Thing and The Blob.
Oh well, I mean, why don't you just add in a third with David Cronenberg's The Fly?
Oh yeah, damn right, absolutely.
Yeah,
Three of the best for sure.
yeah,
In the decade of the remake, which would be I would call the 2000s, we have one of the other better ones, which is The Hills Have Eyes.
yep,
But yeah, these have got to be in the top 5 or 6 remakes of all time, and The Blob's right up there, man. What a great movie! It's hard for a movie, especially I mean a remake, to outdo with the first because The Blob from the 50s is kind of a dud of a movie.
yeah.
If you
I haven't
watch it,
seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but like, uh, not to cut you off. Okay,
no,
go
go
on.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna kind of go on to my thoughts because like
Yeah.
the Blob is completely nostalgia for me. So my parents had the original Steve McQueen The Blob on
Mm,
VHS, and I used to watch that quite a bit. But then when this film came into like HBO or whatever, um, when I was a kid, I remember watching it. My parents watched all the time, and I was always watching it. And like so many things stuck with me, and like there was a period of time, good chunk of time, where I had not seen this movie from like probably like the early 2000s up until a couple years ago when I got the
mm.
Scream Factory Blu-ray, and I was like, I still remembered the movie theater. I still remembered the thing with the sink in the kitchen
Oh yeah,
and in the phone booth, and yeah, and it was just it. I watched this again a couple months ago, and it's just such a fun time, and it's got a lot of great horror aspects to it. Uh, Frank Darabont and Chuck Russell, they outdid themselves with this one. This one was great.
absolutely. And you have more?
No, I was just gonna just say that the Blob is completely nostalgia for me. This and
It's
the original, but mostly this. This I remember a lot from my childhood.
yeah. I tried watching the original, but I saw this one first, and you know how that goes for me generally.
Yeah.
I think this is also another one of those you could show somebody younger trying to get it if you're trying to get into the horror movie.
Hmm.
It's somewhat kid friendly, set in Middle America in the 1980s. We've got a
I love.
horror icon in it as well
Yeah, I would
from the
love to
Saw
show this.
franchise. Hmm?
Yeah, I would love to show this to my kids.
Oh yeah, you should. I've shown it to my kids, and well, I'm like, if I'm ever in the mood for an '80s horror movie, this is one of the ones they. Oh, we should watch The Blob. I'm like, oh, yes, we
Well,
should.
yeah, I mean, my children are heathens and they don't like watching movies anymore.
Oh God.
So I'm
Well, I
gonna
just showed my son The Fly the
press.
other day for the first time, and he loved it.
Oh,
So
I bet he did. Yeah.
yeah, it was funny when they said Brundlefly for the first time because you in my phone when you text me it says Seth Brundlefly,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and so the Reynolds like, oh, that's why you call him Brundlefly. I'm like, yeah, you know. But yeah, The Blob is a great movie, great remake, definitely one of the best remakes of all time, and great cast. The Blob looks fantastic itself.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There is no wrong with this movie. I think the only thing that might be wrong is I really was hoping for a sequel because it set it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm glad they never did because you kind of get that cliffhanger ending. Is something going to happen? And also, they won't ruin what this is. You
Well,
know?
yeah. I mean, every once in a while, you gotta kind of appreciate the one and done films
Yeah. And
that
I'm
they're not
glad.
like ruined or distorted uh, by sequels and
Mhm.
spin-offs and
That whole theory of mine: can a sequel make the film prior better or worse? You know, it was like
yeah.
we talked about that when Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills came out, and
Man, well, I
because
mean, one of my favorite what ifs is just thinking about the possibility of like, what if there was no sequel to Halloween? What if it was just John Carpenter's Halloween? And so what you're left with is Loomis looking over the balcony of the Doyle house and Michael's gone into the night and that's it. And there's no more sequel. Like, I don't know. I think that makes that ending so much better.
yeah, I mean it does make the ending better, but I'm glad the rest of them are there.
Well, I am too. I'm a fan of the
Well, I
franchise.
know
I'm just
you're.
saying, like, I love the thinking about the what if of that possibility.
I mean, if we didn't get the sequels, we wouldn't have your favorite scene in the entire franchise. You
Yeah,
know,
when Buster Rhymes kung fu's Michael Myers.
no, it's earlier in that movie, and you know, at the beginning of Resurrection. Come on, 17
Oh
minutes.
yes, the good
Let's
old
not
Mary
forget.
Mac, the good old Mary.
Yes. So anyway, coming in at number 7 is the Blob. Number 6 was one that I kind of debated on whether or not Beetlejuice, whether or not to put it on this list because it's a definite comedy film that I never thought was horror, but I guess in a way I mean, I think it's actually labeled as horror comedy or comedy horror. And Nate had it on his list. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put it on my list because I actually love this movie. Beetlejuice is awesome. You didn't have it on your list.
Yeah, because I mean, it's got horror elements to it for sure. Just like most Tim Burton films. I mean, you could probably call Batman Returns a horror film if you wanted to. But uh, Beetlejuice is one that this is another one that I grew up with, so I have a lot of love for. But in my older years, I don't remember the last time I watched it. I think I most recently watched the sequel, which was okay. Uh, it's a great movie. It's just I haven't had the desire to rewatch it in a while.
It's a mood movie for me. I got to be in the mood to watch. This is my daughter's favorite movie, period. And
I
for
thought it
me,
was.
it's I got to be in the mood for it.
I thought she was a Phantasm fan.
Period of her favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
She loves Phantasm, but
yep.
not it's not her favorite of all time. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, she likes Phantasm, Poltergeist, and Pet Sematary, her three favorite horror movies.
Right on.
But I don't know, Beetlejuice is a fun time, and every time I do watch it, I have a blast watching it. And as far as the sequel goes, it's should be two movies
Totally.
because
Absolutely.
everything with Dolores was built up in the trailers, and she was barely there.
The, the problem with that film was like it was like two different subplots kind of
Yeah,
competing against each other. So you had the subplot involving Beetlejuice's ex-wife, and then the other one involving the uh,
the kid.
the kid that
Mhm.
Jen Ortega meets, and neither of those stories really go anywhere. They
Mm-mm.
just sort of inconvenience each other, and I
They
think
could
that
have
was
really fleshed both of them out and made two movies.
yeah. Absolutely.
and I think that would have been great.
Yeah, they could have filmed them back to back too.
Yeah, and I think if I was going to pick one of them to be the first of the two, I think the kid's story I would want it to be the first because it would have been a good introduction to Jenna Ortega's character, and kind of almost like a passing of the torch because we do get some character deaths in the new one. But
Oh yeah, and then they saved the wife stuff for the third one, and that
mhm,
that thematically, well, not thematically, but it does kind of go back to the first film,
mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all said and done now.
Yep.
So, all right, now we're getting into deep sequel territory. So, coming in at number 5 on our list is Phantasm 2. Your favorite Phantasm?
Hell yeah, my favorite Phantasm. Uh, and I hate to say it, it's just I think maybe because it's bigger. It's the one of the five that has studio back, and I think it shows uh, throughout the entire film. Um, but I absolutely love this one. I actually really like um, James as Mike. Um, I kind of actually prefer him. Uh, Reggie's awesome in this. It, it's got one of my favorite scenes ever is when Reggie and Mike are walking in the graveyard and it's that the camera's like above them. I love that shot. Um, and it's just a lot of fun. The score is great. It's just yeah, it's just awesome. It's a really fun. I think this is the fun movie of the five. This is like sort of like I think for me, Phantasm Two is the party movie of the five. If
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely good. This is a standout Reggie movie for sure. Even though, a lot of I mean Reggie is the star of Phantasm when it comes down to it. You may not seem that way because of the first movie, but I'm glad that he is because I love Reggie. He's one of my favorite horror heroes. And yeah, Phantasm 2 is it's great. It's unfortunate also because like anytime these movies pop up on streaming, it's one, two, or one, three, four, and five are there, but this one's absent because of the rights. Because of who was it? Universal? Was it?
Universal.
Yeah, Universal had the rights. For the record, only Phantasm movie I like is the first one, and four is okay. Four is good. I think the Phantasm movies are actually very underrated. They tell a really cool story, and I don't know. I mean, Ravager's not the best, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid franchise overall with 5 entries. And
I
two's
agree.
good. Two's good. It's not my favorite. I like the first one a little bit better, but two's really good. It's a lot of fun. Uh, the recast of Mike is not really a problem because he was a kid in the first one. When we come back and see him later, he looks so strange. They should. I wish they would have been able to just keep this fella. So
Yeah,
yeah, because the actor Michael, what's his last name?
Baldwin.
Baldwin. He's an odd-looking cat. Kind of looks like an old lady in some respects. I don't know. It's really strange to me. Is that mean? Maybe. So okay. Also, I want to take a quick. Uh, the average is a pile of crap. Two and three were fine. I like three a lot too. Actually, I think the first four were really solid. I don't think Ravage was that bad. But I also want to take a minute. Again, Reggie Bannister, the basic star, basically the star is on hospice, and I just wanted to just kind of talk about how much I love this guy as a character, as an actor. He's awesome,
Absolutely.
and he's probably not going to be with us much longer, and it's very sad because man, he is the most underrated horror hero in my opinion of all time. I think he gets overlooked because of characters like Ash, and that's nothing against Ash, of course, but Reggie's absolutely 100% overlooked. What you
Yep.
say?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I love that's one of the things I love about Phantasm too, is because like in the first one, he's just kind of like a supporting character who's
Hmm.
there here and there, and then Phantasm Two is the start of Reggie the hero, and
Yeah,
he's great. He brings a lot of personality to it. Uh, he's just a lot of fun. He's got a fun presence on the screen, and yeah, it's yeah. I was sad to hear about what's going on with him, and it just kind of makes like Ravager now even more sad, right? He's
Hmm.
close to how he was being portrayed in that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
will say I'm thankful we got him and Angus Scrim in all 5 movies.
yeah. Well, I'm actually glad that because like or hate Ravager, um, there is some, I think, good stuff in Ravager.
I agree.
Uh, Particularly, I just love the way that it ends. Have a way to start a trio or whatever he says in that. Yeah, and it just you get that one final movie after years. What was it, like 20 years between,
Yeah, basically.
give or take? Give or take, it was about 20 years between 4 and 5, and for the longest time, I thought the ending of 4 was going to be it. Um, but yeah, I'm about due for a marathon of the Phantasm films.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think the last time I did it was when we did our episodes of this on
mhm.
Phantasm. Wait, did we do that?
Did we do Phantasm?
I
I
don't
don't.
remember now. I'm because if that's the case, then it's been even longer since I've watched Phantasm. God, it's time for everybody to rewatch all the Phantasm movies. I'm just gonna say it right now.
There you go.
Even Sean Sheridan.
Yes, even especially Sean Sheridan.
Yeah, especially Sean Sheridan. All right,
Which all
coming in at number 4 is the Child's Play franchise starter, Child's Play. We have done all the Child's Play movies, but what a way to kick off a franchise. I know you prefer Child's Play too, but man, Child's Play is an awesome fucking movie, especially when Chucky comes alive
yeah,
and reveals himself to Annie's mom. One of my favorite scenes in the franchise, probably my favorite scene of the franchise.
yeah, that scene's great.
Sean says, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Phantasm or Child's Play? I know we did Child's Play. Anyway, tell us about Child's Play because you're a bigger fan of the franchise than I am. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, as I've said with other films, again, this goes back to my childhood and me having a My Buddy doll. I do prefer Part Two, but just by a narrow margin. The first film I think is probably the best directed out of all of them. Um, love Tom Holland as a filmmaker. Um, yeah, and I love that, like that scene where he comes to life in
Mhm.
Annie's mom's arms was great, and I also love the scene in with the elevator with the lady saying, "Oh, that's an ugly doll." Yeah,
Fuck
fuck
you. Yeah.
you. As the elevator goes down, I love that. Yeah, a really cool movie. Good start to the franchise.
Yeah, really good start. And it's crazy because to think about that, all these other franchises are kind of starting to close up shop at this point or get close to the end, and Child's Play is just starting.
Yeah,
Uh, but it's not alone as far as franchises just kind of beginning in that decade or in that year 1988 because we also got another one. We'll see. Yeah, that's a great scene too.
yeah,
Uh, Also, 1988 is a sequel, but it's also still kind of the early days of the franchise. And at number 3 is Hellbound Hellraiser 2. And I had to get a picture of Skinless Julia. So, because she's amazing.
yes.
This is a great extension of the first movie.
Hmm.
We're talking about doing the double feature Fridays. I think Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 might be our first episode we do when we get to do that. This is a great way to spend 3 hours watching Hellraiser, then Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
Hmm.
We get basically the mainline story is pretty much wrapped up. I know 3 kind of continues it, so does 4. But this 1 and 2 are the perfect 2 is the perfect culmination of the first movie, of what they set up in the first movie. And I don't think Claire Higgins could have acted any better than she did in this movie. She was exquisite in Hellbound Hellraiser 2, even though she was phenomenal in the first Hellraiser. What are your thoughts?
Hmm. Well, yeah, absolutely, and it's not only that, but it's just the evolution of the Julia character as
Hmm.
well. We've talked about it before, and of course, I have that article that I did about Julia. But just the way we see her in the first film, in the flashbacks, where she's sort of like the good old housewife, and then throughout the film, as she's getting more and more used to the violence and sort of um, uh, kind of changing throughout that film, and then in this, she's essentially the queen of hell, um,
Yeah.
being uh, basically, you could say, Leviathan's lover of sorts,
Mm.
bringing Chenard to Leviathan the way that she lured the men to Frank. Um, yeah, Hellbound Hellraiser 2 is a great sequel. I always go back and forth about which one's my favorite. Currently, I'm kind of stuck on part one as my favorite, but they're just so close together. And I look again, and I mentioned this before on the shows, that I am a sucker for the sequels that kind of like pick up immediately where the last one left off and kind of act as like the second half of a big story.
Yeah.
What this one does, and then Christopher Young's score just epic in this one. Um, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Hellraiser 2 is really, really good. It's definitely worthy of a double feature. If you watch Hellraiser, you may as well throw in Hellbound, you know,
Yep.
right after anyway. Because yeah, I'm the same way. If I watch John Carpenter's Halloween, I'm watching Halloween 2 right
Hmm.
after it, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the same way. And I think that's great that there's some distance between 2 and 3, because 3 is a completely different kind of movie. I like Hell on Earth a lot, but it's a completely different kind of movie compared to the first two Hellraisers for sure.
Hmm.
There's some great kind of Hellraiser iconography in 3 that I love, like the Pinhead and the Pillar and all that.
Hmm.
I think that's awesome, and it's more of a slasher movie and more of Pinhead's movie than anything. Because I think we agree that the Cenobites aren't the main feature of these movies. Julia is mostly, and Frank,
Yeah.
even
Julian
though
Frank.
Frank's, yeah, I mean Frank's like shit on the bottom of Julia's shoe in this one, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course Kirsty. I love Kirsty. She's back. Not her final appearance in the Hellraiser franchise, but another great appearance from Ashley Lawrence. Inferno is still my favorite. If I'm not mistaken, you didn't want to watch the other Hellraiser movies, Sean, and we made you, and you did, and you
And
found
you
one
heard
that you liked. And to
he's
think, I hesitate.
yeah.
Also, not enough can be said about Dr. Chenard. What a great character! What a great addition to the franchise.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hellbound,
Absolutely.
Hellraiser 2, great movie. And we did the Hellraiser movies, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I was gonna say I'm certain we did because
Yep.
we did it after Hellraiser 2022 came out.
Hmm.
All right, coming in at number 2, a couple of fours. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And I don't know about you. I know I'm pretty sure Nate's the same way, but I go back and forth between this and Halloween 2 being my favorite sequel. Don't say Halloween 3 and don't say a tie. I'm gonna kill you if you say a tie.
Well, I mean, it is tough because they're both so strong
Yeah.
for different reasons. I love Halloween 2 for being a direct continuation, for
Hmm.
still having the look and feel of Carpenter's film, and acting as the second half of a bigger story. Um, but then Halloween 4 is awesome all on its own. Halloween 4 has great characters.
Hmm.
Um, it's a little bit bigger than Carpenter's film. Um, And the only thing is, obviously the mask is made fun of a lot, but
And the
uh,
shoulder pads George Wilbur has on too.
yeah,
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
the mask thing, I just look at it as he just stole a random knockoff mask from a store.
It's close as he could get. Let's just say
Right.
that.
Exactly. I do wish the mask looked better, but it doesn't bug me that much. I think the movie
Mm,
is just overall entertaining,
yeah.
and again, really good characters. I think Rachel is a really strong lead. Um, the character Brady, he's kind of a douchebag, but he's a likable douchebag.
Well, he gets redemption though. He has an arc.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I didn't hate him the entire time. Like, I there's something about him I liked, and I love that scene with him and Michael in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sheriff
Good.
Meeker, Meeker, I think is my favorite sheriff character out of the
Are you
entire
sure?
franchise. Yes,
Well, I like Meeker a lot too. But what about Ted Hollister?
you dumb son of a bitch! You said you saw Myers. Shit, Earl, that was Ted Hollister. Yeah, and then poor Bucky as well. The
Yeah.
just trying to keep the power on in Haddonfield.
Yeah,
But
he's just doing his job, man.
yeah, but the number one thing for me with Halloween 4 is this is peak Dr. Loomis.
Oh yeah.
When Loomis is in that diner, gas station, whatever it is, and
With 1,000
he's
pictures of Abe Lincoln on the just so
yep,
you know it's Illinois.
yep, and he's talking to Michael, and he just says, leave those people in peace. If you want someone, take me. This is just great, Dr. Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who's Dr. Loomis is not only one of my favorite characters in the franchise, but he's one of my favorite characters in horror in general.
He's one of the best horror heroes, period, also, just like Ridge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, when it comes to the Halloween franchise, I'll always go back as far as the Michael Myers films 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, even though I'm not crazy about 5. Those 5 films are my preference for Halloween because of the Loomis character.
The question is, will Part 5 show up on our 1989 list? Hmm.
Well, it should. I mean, 89 is a shit year besides Halloween 5.
Yeah. Oh man, 89 is a rough year. It sucks that that's the last one we're doing, but yeah, Halloween 4 is great. I love this movie, and I still think that it'd be a great night is watching Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 4 as a trilogy and just closing it out there. What a great trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Of course, there's 13 Halloween movies, but this one definitely holds a spot in my heart because I had just seen the first two movies earlier in 1988 for the first time, like actually sat and watched them. And then so I got to get excited about Halloween 4 when that came out and didn't get to see it in a theater, but a friend of my mom or my stepdad's, he was a Marine. He had a bootleg of it. Excuse me. I still have dealing with throat stuff from the flu. But he had a bootleg of it and it was a really good quality. So we got to see it pretty fast on VHS. So
Yeah.
I love this one. The mask doesn't bother me. Rachel is an underrated character, one of the best characters in the franchise, in my opinion.
Yep.
Maybe the third best non Michael Myers character in this franchise, behind Loomis and Laurie Strode, in my opinion. Maybe even better. I think she was shortchanged in 5. I think we all think that
Yeah.
for Cookie Woman. But yeah, Halloween 4 is awesome, man. I love this one. This is the return to Haddonfield, where you spent most of Halloween 2 in the hospital. This one, you got to be back in Haddonfield on Halloween night. And there's a lot, I think, of parallels with the first movie. And I think the cast is great. I agree with Meeker, Grady. Brady? Which one is it?
Brady.
We just talked about Elm Street, and there's Grady is from Elm Street. Is it
Yes.
both Grady?
Grady was Elm Street 2. Brady.
Brady, okay, yeah. Sasha Jensen, who we
Yes.
had on the show before. I mean, he is kind of a scumbag, but he gets to see some big ass titties, and then he loses his life a little bit later.
Yeah.
So, and of
Well,
course we get Jamie, who's I think she's a great character. Also got shortchanged.
yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, Danielle Harris. I mean, her performance as a child was, I think, really strong
Yeah,
in that film. But another thing too is like kind of going with what you were saying. Like this is the town-wide film. The
yeah.
first one was primarily, just like a couple of houses. The second one was a hospital. This one is much more town-wide as far as
Mhm.
Michael's destruction.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great. It's three or two or three for me. When it comes to the Friday or the Friday, I looked right at my Friday the 13th collection right as I was saying that of the Halloween films. Oddly enough, Halloween has 13 films. Friday the 13th only has 12.
Not a bad question, Bert.
It is now time for our question, my question, the Razor's Burn question of the night. And we've been doing this for every year during the 1980s. What is your favorite non horror film of 1988? Seth, you need not answer. We already know. But anybody out there watching, please let us know. Seth says Die Hard. I just don't want to hear about it anymore. No,
The greatest film ever made. I just
I
want to.
that makes me cringe every time you say that.
What the truth makes you cringe?
No, I
You got
mean
the truth.
you're forgetting Crocodile Dundee too.
You're forgetting the magic that is Die Hard.
I don't know. Die Hard's fine. It was never even my favorite action movie. I appreciate that you love it so much, but I don't think it's the best movie of all time. I think The Godfather is. The Last Temptation of Christ. Did that come out in 1988? I've never seen that, and that's not something I'd ever want to watch anyway. That might be a horror movie, actually. But yeah, Seth, go ahead and tell us why Die Hard is the best. Twins. I think mine's Coming to America. By the way, I didn't say that, but I love Coming to America quite a bit.
Well, I mean, Die Hard is it's just such a great action film. Um, I think it's very well directed, and it's got incredible performances from Bruce Willis and Ellen Rickman as John McClane and Hans Gruber. It's got a great score. This is yeah. I'm you know I joke around about it being the greatest film ever made, but it is my favorite film of all time, like hands down. Um, there's nothing better than Die Hard in my opinion. Um, I love the characters, I love the action, I love the setting. It's a little bit more upbeat than the book that it's based on. The book is
It's
actually
a
kind of
lot different
depressing.
from the book, isn't it?
It, there's a lot of changes, yeah. Because the book Nothing Lasts Forever is a sequel to the detective. Uh, Frank Sinatra played in an adaptation of that, and basically in the book, the character Joe Leland, he's a retired cop, and he goes to visit his daughter, who's working at this high rise building. It's not Nakatomi; it's something else in the book. And that scene with Holly at the end is in the book. It's his daughter, and she actually drops and she falls to her death. Um, so it's kind of a depressing. Uh, it's kind of a depressing book, but yeah, I love Die Hard with a passion. The first three films are fucking fantastic. I'm a
Two is
defender of part.
underrated.
I'm a. I was just gonna say I'm a defender of part two,
Yeah, absolutely. I like two
and
quite a bit.
yep, and three is just awesome. Totally understandable why some people prefer three over one.
I
Um,
mean, I do.
the only thing that I get hung up on is I feel like the ending of 3 is a little lacking. Um, but other than that, it's great, great franchise. But I grew up uh, watching a lot of Bruce Willis films. Bruce Willis is my favorite actor.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, hands down my favorite actor. Um, so I've seen these movies since I was a kid. I used to go watch anything if I went to the movies and saw Bruce Willis was in something, I just go watch it. Um,
I've been wanting to watch The Great Outdoors. I love that movie. 4 is quite good. 5 is shit.
yes, it is.
Uh, so I'm going to ask this question. What do you think the highest grossing film of 1988 was? I don't think you'll guess it. I'll give you 1 and 2 whenever.
I To be honest with you, I didn't even look at what came out that year.
Okay, so Die Hard's number 10.
Okay.
Big is number 9. Number 5 is Twins. Number 4 is Crocodile Dundee 2, oddly. That movie's not very good. I'm gonna say it's really not that good.
Yeah.
3 is Coming to America. Well, it made 288 million. And then number 2 is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which surprised me. Not because of anything wrong with that movie. Just I'm like, wow, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? How many parents took their kids to see that movie and was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken my kid to see this because there's a cartoon in it, you know? But number 1's Rain Man with
Oh wow, I
Tom
didn't know
Cruise
that.
and Dustin Hoffman. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It was a nickname of mine also because my name's Raymond.
Mm,
So yeah, The Great Outdoors, The Naked Gun is a great movie, and Who
I
Framed Roger
love the
Rabbit.
Naked Gun.
I love The Naked Gun. I like the first 2 especially.
Yeah.
Oh, Rambo 3 is on here also, number 6 on the list, and A Fish Called Wanda. I think those are the only 2 I didn't mention. But yeah, 1988 was just a big year for movies in general.
Rambo
And
3 is like one of my least favorite
yeah,
sci-fi
that's including
films.
inflation. Yeah, no movie was making $350 million back in 19. Actually, maybe I don't know. Let me see if that includes inflation.
That's probably what the total gross is. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's worldwide. Oh no, Rain Man would have made in 2024 dollars 943 million. So that's not including inflation. Huh, that's a major hit. That means Die Hard probably would have made 650. Anyway, yeah, fun year. Also, what have we not mentioned yet for 1988? This is the part where our viewer count goes all the way down, unsubscribe, all that good stuff's going to happen because people are not going to be happy with our number 1. But if you know me, if you know Seth, and you know Nate, and you know our last topic on our last show, the Horror Syndicate Discourse, you're going to know it's A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 is our number 1 movie of 1988.
awesome.
Fantastic. Yep, sorry. Yeah. Seth, explain to them why this is our number 1. And is there any other movie that you could see in the number 1 spot from this list?
I mean, to be honest with you, probably the top 5 were are all great films. The top 5 on this list. Um, for A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, this is a film that you and I kind of actually bonded over because for the longest time I thought I was one of the only weirdos who preferred Part 4 over Part 3. Um, but Elm Street 4 is, for both of us, it's a complete comfort movie. This is a film I can put on anytime. This is a film I can, if I'm mad or upset, I'll put it on when my football team got knocked out from the championship game. Uh, I was devastated, and I put this on, and it just totally cheered me up.
Hmm.
This is a fun anytime movie. I can rewatch this film over and over and over again and not get bored. Um, I've loved this since I've seen it. As a teenager. It's just the one Elm Street film that always really um, stuck with me, and I know that um, obviously one is the best in the franchise, but this is my go-to, especially if I'm just in a mood to watch a random Elm Street film. I love Alice, love Robert's performance as Freddy. I love the way that this film is shot. I love the kills. Um, the cockroach death is my favorite death scene out of the whole franchise. Um, yeah, just great
And
film.
Freddy's death is the best of the franchise.
Freddy's death was great. Yeah, I can't say enough positive stuff about this film. This is a film that I've I'll die on a hill defending. All the people who say this is the beginning of the end and go suck a fuck.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not. And as far as Night of the Demons goes, I love that movie. It's a great Halloween movie. If yeah, I don't know if you like it or not because there's the laughing emoji, but I love it. It's good. I was the only one who voted it on. It was on number 10 on my list. That's why I didn't make the list. But yeah,
I I'm surprised I didn't have it. Maybe it's
I
probably
don't
like,
think you did because I was looking back at, let's see, your list. No, you were the only one that had Night of the Demons on your list. I didn't even have it on mine.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know there was one person that had it, and it wasn't Nate, so it had to be me or you. It wasn't me.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Night of the Demons is fun and it makes you want to have apple pie.
not me. Unless you're talking about vagina, then
No, I'm talking about apple pie because of the ending.
oh, I know. But yeah, Dream Master is awesome. It gets very little respect from anyone, even in its own franchise. It's a shame because it's a lot of fun. I love it. We talked a little bit about it on Sunday when we did our kind of a question, 10 questions. It was more than 10 of the Elm Street franchise, which I had fun doing that episode.
Yeah,
Um, I think that there's a lot of really awesome shit that happens in this one. Like Seth said, the cockroach scene was in this one. The ending is so great. I think it's the best of the ways to stop Freddy in the franchise. Alice, in my opinion, is the best heroine. Even though Nancy Thompson is my hero growing up, Alice, she basically took on the powers that Nancy gave to Kristen, and Kristen passed on to Alice. So Alice was the best of the best. And
right.
the whole end fight in that broken down church is fucking epic. And that was when I watched this the first time as a kid. That was the fight I've been waiting for versus Freddy.
Yeah,
So, yeah, this movie doesn't get enough respect. Great. Who cares if he puts sunglasses on?
yeah.
Freddy's a fucking ham. So, everybody's favorite is Dream Master. I'm a Dream Warriors, and that's fine. I Dream Warriors. Every time I watch it, I get straight up like nostalgic feelings for seeing it in the theater when I was 7 years old. But I don't know. I remember the build up to this movie. Dream Warriors had come out. I'd seen it a bunch. We my mom dubbed a copy. Stole it basically, and I watched it a lot. And then I started seeing the previews for Dream Master, and I started. This was the first movie I started coming up with theories of what was going to happen in the movie, of any movie ever. This is the first one I started theorizing what was going to happen based on the trailers. And every time the Vinnie Vincent Invasion Love Kills song came on TV, I was like glued to the TV watching for just a snippet from Elm Street. Uh, this to me was the height of Freddy because, and Nate mentioned it the other day, he was on MTV. He got his own TV show. He did do a countdown. I remember watching that. Robert England as Freddy hosting like the top 20 countdown or something like that on MTV, or some other kind of like heavy metal, maybe. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I tuned in because it had special looks at that movie. And sure, Tuesday Night was cast as Kristen, but if not, we would have never gotten a couple of songs from her in that movie that I love. I don't care what anybody says. The first song, "Running from His Nightmare," fucking awesome. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
no, I mean Tuesday Night was fine in the film. It just I think it sucks for the sake of continuity, but
Yeah.
something that it doesn't affect my enjoyment of it. I think when I first watched it, I was a little like upset, I suppose, that they killed off the Dream Warrior so quickly. Um, I would have preferred if Kincaid at least lasted up until the beginning of the third act or something like that. Make him last a little bit longer. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's just my go-to.
I think one of the things I like about the movie with the Dream Warriors being killed off so fast is that they were arrogant. They didn't expect Freddy to come back, and then when, like with in Kincaid's case, he thought he just could drop a car on him. Take that, motherfucker! Nope. He's back, and he's not fucking falling for your bullshit. That's I like that he that made Freddy, in my opinion, because the Dream Warriors took him out, more dangerous. He took each one of them out one by one, and it's like fuck, And then he takes out the all powerful Kristen, and Freddy I mean, she plays right into his hands if you think about it, with bringing Alice into the dream so Freddy can get his fresh meat. So I don't know. It's not. I know they had problems writing it and all that stuff, and I don't know. I love it, and I love Lisa Wilcox. I got to meet her. Still ticks me off. Ellie Cornell was talking down about being up for the role of Kristen in Dream Master. Was she?
Hmm.
I didn't know that. I thought she was up for a different role. I thought she was up for, I don't know. But that's our list for 1988. Next week is our final of the decades. We will do a top 25 probably of the decade. We'll also rank the years, I think, which will be fun. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we can do that. Just
We're not going
remind
to do
me.
a whole episode on it. We'll just tack that on to our top 25 because it won't take forever to rank. Be like, oh, 1987 was the best year, whatever.
Yeah, just remind me that I have to do that.
I will. And then tomorrow is Werewolf Wednesday, and Seth is talking about something I've never heard of.
Full
Big
Eclipse with
surprise.
Mario Van Peebles and Bruce Payne and the chick from Lethal Weapon 2.
I still like that scene with Colonel Stewart. Colonel Stewart, can you give us a couple words? Yeah, fucking you.
Oh, yeah, no, you're
I've never heard of this, but did you know guns don't kill people? Mario Van Peebles.
yeah,
Uh,
it's a made for HBO werewolf film from
Never even heard of it.
'93. It's more of
Yeah,
like
93.
it's like action horror.
Is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie. You can actually
Because
watch
this
it for.
this poster screams like mid '90s TV show.
Yeah, I had to crop the poster to get this thumbnail.
Oh,
But yeah, it's you can watch it for free on YouTube. I actually put
hmm.
the link in the description for tomorrow's show for the YouTube link for you where you can watch it. And I got the DVD. I think it's a fun movie. It's '90s cheesy.
On a scale of 1 to Bad Moon,
Um, Bad Moon being uh, what's your scale? Because like one to Bad Moon, are you saying Bad Moon's bad or Bad Moon's great and one is bad?
Bad Moon is one of the best of the '90s for werewolf movies. So I'd say higher. What would beat out Bad Moon? for the 90s, for the best werewolf movie of the 90s.
No, that's the best werewolf film of the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bad Moon being a good movie, and then one being the lowest, of course.
It's definitely not as good as Bad Moon. I don't know, probably like a 5 or.
Is it more like a Birds 2 Land's End, or better?
It's better. It's better than that. So it's basically Mario Van Peebles is like a cop,
Yeah,
and he's like overly stressed out. His partner got shot, but his partner recovers, and he notices something strange about him. But then he eventually gets recruited to be part of this task force of cops, and they inject themselves with some sort of serum that turns them in. They get like werewolf-like abilities, and to take out certain people. So they go on specific assignments, and
certain Mario Van Peebles.
Mario Van Peebles, yep. And then yeah, and spoiler alert: Bruce Payne turns out to be the villain of the story, and he turns into a werewolf at the end. I don't know. It's fun. 90s.
Oh, look forward to Werewolf Wednesday tomorrow, and Seth will be going live at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 in Central, and 6:30 on the West Coast. And just to recap, 1988 was number 10 was They Live, Friday the 13th Part 7, Pumpkinhead, Blob, Beetlejuice, Phantasm II, Child's Play, Hellraiser 2, Halloween 4, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Question: do you want to do an overall ranking of the movies of the 70s? Because we can't do individual years for the 70s or 90s for that matter. But I'd like to do both of those as a decade. I don't know how many though. Like 20 maybe?
20 would be fine. I know that there's quite a bit of 70s films I still got to see.
I think you've seen the important ones though. There's because I mean, we'll have to talk about this off the air.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like, there are important movies from the 1970s like Dawn of the Dead and Phantasm and Alien and Halloween and The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jaws, stuff like that you've absolutely seen.
yeah,
Uh,
Werewolf
I
the
don't
Yeti.
know. Let me make my list. What? Werewolf and the Yeti?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1975.
Let me make my list and I'll have Nate do it. We'll do all top 25 lists and then we'll just do the top 20 for our show. And let me do my list and let's see where you are from that. Because I know I've seen a lot from the 1970s, as has Nate. Nate's seen a lot of movies in general. Deep Red. You've seen Deep Red, haven't you?
Yep.
Profundo Rosso.
Yes, I own it.
That'd be on Jared's list for sure. Yeah, I think we'll not right away, but at some point we'll do. After we're done doing the 1980s, we're gonna do another bullshit around show. I think just to kind of relax, and then figure out our next move after that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's our show for the night. We'll be back next week with the final year from 1980s and 1989, which, spoiler alert, it's kind of a shitty year. But I will say one thing, at least this is like we do have one last year that goes hard in horror. I mean, Seth's got Toxic Avenger 2 and 3 on his list right next to each other. My list is so different from Seth's list. Seth's list is so different from Nate's list. It's insane. Like if Jared participates in this one, I cannot even imagine how this list is going to turn out.
I mean,
Movies like Friday the 13th Part 8 and Halloween 5 may not make the list. I think I know what number one's going to be. I think it's Pet Cemetery. I'm not 100% sure.
I think that's the obvious pick.
Yeah,
For number one, for good reason. It's a great film.
it is.
But, I mean,
It's a great film.
Yeah, my number 2 is Howlin' 5: The Rebirth. So
I don't remember what my number 2 is. Let me look real fast because it's just a an odd bird of a year, you know. There, it was the end of the '80s when we had so much in the '80s, and I think horror just started slowing down. Oh shit, I forgot. Nate's. Let's see. My number 2 is Society, which I don't think you've seen.
I haven't seen that.
You gotta love the shunt. And Nate's is The Burbs, which I don't think is a horror movie. His number 1 is Ghostbusters 2. He's got a movie called Clown House on his list. Vampire's Kiss and Warlock. Weird, weird, weird movie. Weird, weird, weird year. I've got The Church, which is an Italian horror movie. The Fly 2 is on my list.
Yeah,
Shocker is actually on my list, even though I don't like that movie. Puppet Master. It's just a weird year.
yeah.
Yours is let me look at yours real fast. Let's see. You got The Fly 2 on there. Shocker, Ghostbusters 2. I bet Shocker would be close to the top for Jared.
Yeah.
Warlock. I haven't seen Warlock in a long time. I have the Blu-ray. Maybe I'll watch it beforehand. Redo my list if I need to.
It's a good
In
movie.
memory of Julian Sands,
Yes.
who was lost in the sands of time. That's terrible. Anyway, Werewolf Wednesdays tomorrow. Discourse will be back on Sunday. I don't know that we have a topic yet. It'll either be more Corman or something else. Who knows? I don't know. Seth doesn't know, and neither does Nate. You guys have a great night.